Hey Wargamers, today I have a 2,000 point battle report for you. It's me playing my town against my friend Nate and his Ultramarines. The basic idea here is that we're testing out a bunch of stuff from Chapter Approved 2018. So we're using the new Eternal War mission for Pillars out of Chapter Approved 2018, and also using some units in my list that I haven't been using extensively in the past. So I have Shadowsun, I have Broadsides, I have Crisis Suits, I have Datgrek, all those guys in one list for me to use, and we will talk about both the missions and the list performance at the end of the battle report, so stay tuned. Alright, we are playing Spearhead Assault on the 4 Pillars, which is an Eternal War mission out of Chapter Approved 2018. That's where we have 4 objective markers, one here, one here, one here, and one here, and you score victory points for controlling those at the end of the battle round. Moving on to deployment.
Alright, starting out with the infiltrators, we have a 10-man sniper scout unit, 1 heavy bolter, led by Sergeant Tellian. We have a scout bike squadron with 1 grenade launcher. It'll be interesting, I haven't brought those out in a long time. We have a quad mortar set up over here, and in the building to the left there, another quad mortar. Then we have kind of a different take on a Bobby bomb. We have Rebute Gilliman. 6 aggressors with the Bolt Storm gauntlets, las cannon devastators with Armorium Cherub, missile devastators with Armorium Cherub. We have Chief Librarian Tigerius, an apothecary, Tech Marine, and Company Agent with the Banner of the Emperor Ascendant to hopefully get me a little bit more retaliation strikes. And then we have Big Papa here, the Relic Leviathan Dreadnought with 2 Storm Cannon arrays.
On the Tau side, we have 2 10-man units of Fire Warriors. Actually, this is 11-man unit of Fire Warriors with a Cadre Fireblade and an Ethereal. Here is a Firesight Marksman as well. Over here we have 2 Riptides equipped identically with Heavy Burst Cannon, Smart Missile System, Advanced Targeting System, and Target Lock. 2 units of 5 Shield Drones, Commander Shadowsun, a 3-man unit of Broadsides with missiles and advanced targeting systems, a 5-man unit of drones attached to them as well, another 10-man unit of Fire Warriors with a Firesight Marksman here, and then a Vior Law Cold Star Commander with 3 Fusion Blasters and the Supernova Launcher, as well as a unit of 3 Crisis Suits with gun drones in Deep Strike and Datgrek in reserve as well.
Alright, so turn 1 shooting. Scouts and the rest of my sniping crew went after the 2 characters over here, causing wounds to the Fireblade and the Ethereal. I used the Hellfire round strategy to get some mortal wounds out, put 3 mortal wounds on the Ethereal. Moving over to the Bobby Brick, pretty much everybody went into the 3-man unit of Broadsides. Just pumping as many fire shots out as possible. I was able to kill the drones behind them and all 3 Broadsides, but it did take the entire Bobby Brick to do it. And then just use the quad mortars to soften up the back rank of shield drones next to the Riptide. I did burn both Armorium Cherubs on the Devastators just to get those last couple of shots out before retaliation shooting.
Bottom of turn 1 movement, Shas'vre called Kao Yun. So these guys can't move, but they're going to be re-rolling. The Cold Star stayed there. This unit of Fire Warriors moved up to secure this objective, as did this unit of Fire Warriors over here as well. I also did some shuffling of my Fireblade and Ethereal to bring them up in range of that forward Fire Warrior unit. Bottom of turn 1 shooting, Shadowsun used command control node on that Riptide. Because there were no Broadsides left, obviously. So try to make the best of the bad situation and bump up the Riptide instead. Riptide has Branch Nova charge as well, so he's bumping his gun and his shield. This one has bumped his gun. And using Kao Yun, this guy took out the front row of aggressors, and then this guy took out what was it, a veteran?
Company Agent.
Company Agent, that's what I meant. Company Agent that was sitting there, and the unit of Devastators back here. these Fire Warriors that are over here contributed some wounds over to the Scout Squad here as well, using through Unity Devastation from the Warlord hiding in the ruins. I had 4 Markerlights on that unit and 1 Markerlight on the unit of Devastators back here, and that was my shooting phase, and we are looking forward to an exciting Tau charge and assault phase. End of top of turn 2 movement. Everybody advanced up this way, repositioning here to protect the characters using the Dreadnought, but essentially getting the bikes up a little bit here to deny deep striking, and then positioning these guys as a flank coming up towards the Tau.
Alright, so shooting phase, the Scouts and Battalion once again went after the Warlord hiding in the building here. Unfortunately, with cover and no mortal wounds, didn't do any damage to him. Las Cannon team went after the Riptide that wasn't protected by the Branch Nova charge. Ended up killing 1 drone, so awesome there. Leviathan Dreadnought was able to finish off this squad here of Fire Warriors holding the objective, and 5 damage to the other squad of Fire Warriors, with the mortar teams not being very effective against either target.
And these guys came through with their bounding knife ritual to not run off the board, so that was good. Right, bottom of turn 2 movement, called Kaoyun here again, with these guys Nova charging and him taking his Branch Nova charge again for 1 command point. These Fire Warriors moved up, as well as Ethereal moving up behind them. Deat Grek came in. He's hiding in this ruin over here, and then my Crisis Suits came down, as well as having my Cold Star come up. So here are the 3 Crisis Suits, their drones, and the Cold Star. Bottom of turn 2 shooting. These guys, I focused all the Cyclic Ion Blasters, overcharging them, plus 4 of the Fusion Blasters into the Dreadnought. I took a total of 1 wound off of it there. The other 2 Fusion Blasters went into the Thunderfire Cannon over here. Didn't do anything. This guy put his Fusion Blasters into the Thunderfire Cannon, took that out, and then used his Supernova Launcher to try to plink away at the Tech Marine. Did nothing. Rolled a 1 on his D6 there. Deat Grek came in. He tried to plink away at these guys. Was unsuccessful. Did nothing over there. Over here, we had the Command and Control noted Riptide throw his Smart Missile System into the Devastators and his Heavy Burst Cannon into the Dreadnought. The Smart Missile Systems took out 1 guy, and the Heavy Burst Cannon did a fair number of damage to the Dreadnought, which was then brought down to 1 wound by this other Riptide, who did the same split fire here. His Smart Missile System also took out the 4 remaining members of the Devastator squad. This Dreadnought, with 1 wound remaining, came under fire by the 9 Fire Warriors in these ruins. I got 1 wound through. He needed a 2 up to save, rolled a 1, and then a 6 to explode, dealing a fair number of mortal wounds to this character blob, as well as killing a bike back here. So this is the battlefield going into turn 3. Top of turn 3 movement. These guys moved up here. The Apothecary healed 2 wounds back on Bobby G. This guy moved over here, and the bike swung around over here to flank the Crisis Suits. Tigurius is now approaching the Fire Warriors, and generally that character blob is dispersing that way. Alright, I forgot to mention these guys moved up here to capture an objective. That way he is currently controlling 2, because last turn I actually gained 1 point because I had 2 to 1. Then in the Psychic phase, Tiggy smote a Fire Warrior off and failed to cast his other power. In the shooting phase, we had the Thunderfire take out a few Fire Warriors here. The Tech Marine took out a bunch of gun drones via Savior protocols, and then the other bikes here finished off a Crisis Suit. So down to 2 Crisis Suits here. Otherwise, going into charge phase. All right, charge phase. These guys tried to charge in here, aided an overwatch, so did the Tech Marine. Bobby tried charging in here, took a few wounds, but overall made it in and slaughtered the fire warriors that were there. Tiggy tried to charge these guys as well and ate a wound, but did not make his charge. All right, Tau movement phase. These guys overcharged. I didn't do any branch nova charging, but they moved up to secure this objective and to put pressure on Bobby G. The fire site marksman moved back, getting out of combat. Over here, that drone actually died from morale, and the crisis suits advanced over here to put pressure on that objective. The Cold Star moved over here to put pressure on them, and then Dayak Grek kind of shored up his position over here. But that is the movement phase. Tau shooting phase. These guys cleaned up this unit here. The Cold Star killed the crew here, therefore killing the Thunderfire cannon. We killed Bobby G using this Riptide. Shadowsun did nothing to him. This Riptide cleaned up the scout unit as well as who did he kill? With the Smart Missile System.
He did 1 damage to the Apothecary.
Okay. The Riptide wiped up the scout unit and did 1 damage to the Apothecary. And then the Fire Warrior unit took out Tigurius. So looking at this guy and this guy on the table going into turn 4, Bobby G did not stand up. And Tau claim an additional victory point for controlling 3 objectives to 0.
And we called it there because he had 2 models left, so there wasn't a whole lot of point in playing anymore. But so a solid Tau victory. I was able to score points pretty consistently throughout the game. And I think really one of the biggest components of how this played out was the terrain. We set up the terrain in kind of a symmetrical way, and I think if we had a big line of sight blocker in the middle of the board, that would have really helped my opponent do what he wanted to do, and that was get his aggressors up into my line quickly. Without that line of sight blocking terrain, that was much more difficult. So I think that change in the board layout would have made a difference. But yeah, overall, very good showing for the Tau. I didn't get to actually use my broadsides. I put them out there thinking, all right, here we go. We're going to get to test these out. And I didn't get to do that because they died right away. Not totally inconsistent with broadsides of the past. Of course, they didn't receive any buffs to their durability or anything like that. So that's not totally unexpected. And then, of course, I realized I made a critical deployment error, or actually 2 errors. First, I should have put the Riptides in front of the broadsides instead of the broadsides in front of the Riptides. And I also should have had the Riptide drones, or rather the 2 units of shield drones, instead of having them hang out directly next to the Riptides, I should have actually had them up about 2 or 3 inches so that they could have also covered the broadsides. I wasn't anticipating quite that amount of firepower coming at them on turn 1. So if I would have moved the shield drones up, I could have actually had some broadsides left to do some work on the bottom of turn 1. But of course I didn't do that, so it's a mystery how they would have done, but probably well, but who knows. Additionally, I liked how the crisis suits worked. I think they did a fairly good job. They do a fair amount of damage if you get them into the right spot at the right time. And I think that they worked fairly well. Now, they didn't take out anything massive. They contributed a few wounds here and there to some high priority targets, but they also cleared out that back objective, which was helpful and allowed Dayak Grek to come in and occupy that at the end of the game. So I think they did their job well. I am looking forward to continuing to use them unless, for some reason, being a mobile objective grabber becomes, not beneficial in the meta, which I don't expect. So I think the crisis suits are going to stay. Dayak Grek, didn't really do a whole lot. He is still good for the 20 points. I totally forgot to use his booby trap ability, which is, one of the #1 reasons to take him. So that's something that I need to work on personally, is remembering to actually do that. It's weird because it's at the end of your opponent's movement phase. It's not during your turn at all. So that's tricky and something that you have to work on remembering. So didn't do that, but I think he was still worth it because he was a character with extra cover that could pop up anywhere on the board and grab an objective. I think, having him for that alone is valuable. For 20 points, that's pretty darn good. You can imagine in that scenario, if this game would have progressed, the Cold Star could have gone and grabbed a different objective. The Crisis Suits could have moved over and finished off some other units, contested some areas, and then Deacrec could have just camped that one objective. I think that's a pretty good use for him, and I was happy with it. Shadowsun, again, did exactly what I wanted her to do. I think there's a major limitation in how you use her based on the fact that you have to stand still for 2 turns if you are looking to use Cao Yan twice. Of course, that's nothing new again, but I really felt conflicted in the fact that I had to stand still using that ability. And once I declared it, there's nothing I could do to change that, right? So I call it, everybody's frozen in place. Those units can't move anymore. So there's some limitation there and some tactical things you have to consider. It's not a 100% sure thing that you always want to call Cao Yan twice. And that's something that you need to get a little bit better of a feel for as you use Shadowsun. That's something that I'm working on doing, is getting a better feel for that. In this case, it totally worked out. It was definitely worth it, but against potentially more mobile armies, there would be some drawback to that. So that's something that we'll explore moving forward as well. Overall, I'm happy with the list. I think it performed well. I think the changes in Chapter Proof to the Tau list were very beneficial for me, and I like how the list plays in its current form. Now, the other big new thing here were the missions. Primarily, the structure of the 4 pillars is cool. It's kind of like a watered-down ITC mission in terms of like capturing and killing and stuff like that. And I like it. I think it's cool. It works. Very, very simple and easy to follow. I like that mission. What I think is potentially more problematic is the deployment method, being a 100% deploy on one side and then 100% deploy on the other. I'm unsure of how I really feel about that. Yes, it makes things much quicker to deploy, which is really good, especially if we're talking about having missions that are taking 3 hours just to get a game in. That's not conducive for tournament play, so we really want to get towards a more expedient game. And so if we're able to do that in the deployment phase, that's fine. But the tactical flexibility that you had with deploy 1 unit, deploy 1 unit, deploy 1 unit, deploy 1 unit was engaging and felt a little bit more balanced. Whereas with this setup, there's definitely some aspect of unfairness, or maybe not unfairness, but it definitely felt like whoever deployed first was automatically going to be at a big disadvantage. Now, they do get some advantage in terms of determining who goes first, which is huge. But nonetheless, the whole static deployment seemed a little weird, and I'm not sure if the changes to how first turn work balance out, outweigh, or underweigh that change. And so I'd really like to hear what your thoughts are on that as well in the comments. So let me know what you think about the deployment. I'm not sure how I feel about the complete deployment for one person and complete deployment for the other. Still trying to figure that out. But overall, I like the new mission. I like the changes to Chapter Approved in terms of points and how the army works. So overall, pretty happy. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And of course, happy wargaming. Hey everyone, this video is made possible by my supporters over on Patreon. If you enjoyed this video, consider joining our community over there as well. Special thanks to No Excuses Panda, Scott Heater, Tao Oswald, Nick Steele, Jared Egler, Scott J. Smith, Stephen Cohen, Brian Mann, Jake Johnson, Eric Jackson, Benjamin, RP, Julian Peck, Andy M. Young, Peter Benjamin Parker, and Giovanni DiMaggio.